And welcome into the Roundtable. Bill Priestley here with you. And today we're going to be talking about the future of air cargo facilities, as this seems to be a changing world. We've got two people here that can talk to us with some great experience with that as well. First off, John Carver, CEO of Burrell Aviation, and also our own air cargo editor, Eric Kulish, joining us here as well. Gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us. John, let me start with you. Just in terms of an overall, say, 50,000-foot perspective in this, how widespread is the need now for newer or expansive air cargo facilities at our nation's airports?
The situation of the U.S. airports right now is pretty acute as it relates to the need for air cargo, and it really starts at the top down. It starts with the major gateway airports that are at or nearing capacity in terms of what they can accommodate in terms of future air cargo growth. And it's creating opportunity for the airports at the next level down, the more regional and municipal airports, to try and capture some of that overflow volume that used to be dedicated to the major international airports. And much of the focus over the last 20 years in the airport system has been on the on the passenger side of the business, improving security, obviously, after 9/11, addressing the emerging technologies with cell technology, 5G technology, improving the passenger experience from lounges and concessions all the way to accommodating Uber and Lyft and the transportation network carriers. And very little attention has been put on to the cargo side. When COVID came on board a few years ago, it really put a spotlight on air cargo, and it reminded the major airports how important that really is to the overall ecosystem. And many of these large airports, if you look at Miami, look at LAX, look at JFK, they're now trying to play catch up to create volumes that they know are coming that they're unable to really accommodate. And for the next tier down of airports, they're finding the opportunity to try and capture some of that new business that will provide a more diversified and resilient airport system for themselves and the regions they serve.
Gotcha. Eric, anything to add to that in terms of what you've seen in the air cargo scene?
Yeah, no, I think that's correct. And, I think there has been you've seen this stepped up activity at the major airport level after, what you might term as years of neglect, benign neglect in infrastructure for cargo. LAX, Miami, JFK. Now you have Philadelphia, seeing itself as a potential cargo hub and trying to invest. Atlanta has some new facilities. So you're seeing a lot of activity, some of it now, but some of it kind of future planning that'll come in the next decade or so. But there's so much cargo, and the pandemic highlighted just how congested some of these airports can be, especially as they're trying to serve passenger airlines at the same time. And so cargo is a secondary product at some of these places, and so you don't have the same kind of prioritization with customs and road feeder access and access to the terminal. So these secondary airports are often really good for freighter operators because they can just fly in, pull up airside, and get pretty immediate loading and unloading and customs treatment, and they're on their way, rather than being stuck with cargo stuck in the terminals waiting to be sorted and spoon fed out to the forwarders. So that's kind of what we're seeing right now.
Gotcha. And going to those kind of spillover markets, John, let me turn back to you in terms of what you guys are doing, I believe, in Colorado right now, in terms of trying to help out at least one airport deal with these spillover issues and helping move cargo through these kind of secondary tier airports.
Well, I mean, for us, it's an opportunity, and for the regional airports, it's an opportunity. Municipal airports, in some cases, it is as well. What we have found is that across the board, with few notable exceptions, most airports did not put money into their capital improvement for this non-passenger type of infrastructure. Again, the focus and the capital is, for the most part, being directed towards airfield improvements and the passenger elements of the airport, and for good reasons, because for most airports, that's the lion's share of the revenue that they generate. But as we sit today, and with this need for improvement of the air cargo supply chain component, the opportunity for private sector investment is huge, because the airports, as I said, don't have money in their capital improvement plans for the most part. And the airlines and the cargo handlers and the operators that deal in this space, freight forwarders, are not equipped to provide infrastructure funding for new facilities either. So the private sector becomes the third leg of the stool, and is able to really seize the opportunity to invest and provide capital investment into strategically located airports around the country. And we're proud to have 21 airports now in our portfolio where we are doing just that. We are helping the airports modernize their infrastructure, replace aging facilities, create the environment to attract new airlines, dedicated freighter airlines, and some of the other logistics elements that cluster around the airport ecosystem as it relates to the cargo supply chain.
John, let me stay with you there, because you allude to some solutions that perhaps obviously some airports can do and others cannot. I know that Toronto is looking into replacing office space in terms of converting that into air cargo usage. What are some of the solutions that you're seeing amongst your portfolio in terms of how air cargo facilities are being improved across the country?
Well, I think it's really readying sites for near-term development. And this is a speed to market type of a component of the airport world that cannot wait 5-10 years for land to come online. So what we're focused on is working with our airport partners to prepare land parcels that can be shovel ready for development within the next, let's say, 18 to 24 months. And with an accelerated development timeline, we can provide solutions, create the jobs that air cargo represents, create new revenue streams for the airport, and maintain this supply chain evolution that's occurring in the air cargo world within the next 3 to 4 years. So much of what the airports are doing that we're working with is dedicating resources to preparing land parcels for near-term development. That's adding taxiways, that's in some cases widening their runways, lengthening their runways, doing what is needed to be able to capture that those cargo volumes that are out there and expected to continue rising over the next many years.
Eric, one of the things that we've talked about is the fact that LAX has put out a bid perhaps to create, as LA is likely to do, put out something that's big and shiny and new and possibly very innovative. Give us what is LAX looking at, and are they looking perhaps to make a standard out of everything else that we've seen across the country?
Yeah, well, I think John could talk to that some. He used to work at the Airport Authority in LA, and kind of in some of this pre-development that they put on pause for a few years when COVID hit. But LAX is a perfect example, right? So they have, it's one of the top 2, airports in the U.S., and not including FedEx and UPS hubs. And so it's a very large international cargo hub, but the infrastructure is 40, 50 years old, plus it's got old buildings that aren't really equipped for modern cross-docking and sorting, and the cargo facilities are scattered all over. It's very difficult for trucks to get in and out. So they're kind of reimagining how that could be all kind of combined in a more, concentrated and efficient cargo village type of structure. But, they're many years away from getting that off the ground. There's a lot of environmental and other planning, procedures, and then more RFPs. And so, when you go that route, it takes a long time. I think what Burrell Aviation is doing with these smaller regional airports is very interesting, because they're kind of getting out ahead of that and saying, before even an airport realizes and does a study that they need cargo and how to achieve it, they're coming in and kind of explaining the issue and saying, we'll jumpstart it and get, lay the groundwork and get everything ready. And, we can pop these up much quicker as soon as you're ready to go, or there's tenants, the cargo infrastructure is in place. So it's kind of two different business models or approaches, from a public sector and a private sector approach.
It is certainly a fascinating area of air cargo that we need to be watching, of course, as you mentioned, over the course of the next 2 to 5 years. John Carver, CEO of Burrell Aviation, Eric Kulish, our air cargo editor, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, we will take a break and we'll be back right after this.